What is up, guys? Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Kevin Crates. This is the channel where we go over to crypto news followed by 5 charts every day. Today we're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Luna, XRP, and AXS. And as always, timestamps are down in the description below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that bell on to catch notifications for all daily uploads. Edge of your seat 24 hours in the crypto markets, guys, as Bitcoin continues to attempt to battle and claim that 40,000 resistance level. It's only a matter of time now where it will either claim that 40,000 resistance level or take a clear rejection and trend back down in price. A few standouts on today's overview. We have XRP up nearly 12% today, and we also have Terra Luna up nearly 17% today. We'll be diving into both of those charts later on. The last one I wanted to shout out was AMP, up nearly 12% today, but up over 80% this week. I have seen AMP on the gainers list so many times over the last week or so that we will definitely be diving into its chart tomorrow. But overall, guys, the market is looking green. Lots of opportunity out there, but it really just matters on what happens with Bitcoin over the next 24 hours or so. And we're going to take a closer look at all the price action when we take a look at the charts later on. Looking at today's news, we had Senator Warren back in the headlines. Senator Elizabeth Warren shoots down a key reason for investors to buy Bitcoin, calls for tighter regulations. I read over the whole article. I know a few different things are circulating all over Twitter from this interview. However, there was one part that did stick out to me, a quote by Elizabeth Warren saying, "I want people to have freedom to invest. I just don't want a system where the big guys, where the shadowy guys, where the guys you never quite see can get out there and do pump and dump schemes." And the reason I wanted to talk about that specific part of the article is because my first introduction to the market close to about 10 years ago was not crypto. My first introduction to the market was actually the low cap, micro cap penny stock market, where although regulation does exist somewhat, at the end of the day, there are endless pump and dumps in the OTC stock market. And I just wanted to touch on this article from just a few months ago. Penny stock trading volume has exploded by 2,000% amid the growing influence of retail traders. The article goes on to say, but the risk in buying low-priced penny stocks is considerably higher than buying an exchange-listed stock because regulations and oversight is extremely lax on the OTC markets. Company filings are rarely up to date, and promotional press releases often move a penny stock more than its quarterly earnings. Penny stocks are also more prone to being the subject of a pump and dump scheme in which promoters quietly buy the stock, release promotional materials, and then sell the stock on unsuspecting retail investors. It definitely does bring into question some of the sincerity behind trying to protect the average retail investor. We have this article here today, U.S. officials threaten crypto regulations. Will it cause a crash? The article goes on to say U.S. regulation seems like the biggest risk, but experts say it's more of a risk to the U.S. and not to crypto. While Senator Elizabeth Warren has vocalized her concerns specifically to Yellen, traditional financial researcher Jim Bianco thinks that DeFi will eventually replace more centralized finance. Bold in his claim after engaging in DeFi protocols, Bianco thinks that it, quote, is just better, more than he speculates that if the U.S. continues to stifle regulation, innovation will be sought elsewhere. In my opinion, when it comes to regulations, they are part of the game and they will help legitimize the crypto space in the long run. There may be a few obstacles in the way that pull prices down for the time being, but they are part of the game and necessary. However, if the crypto space gets the same kind of regulations that the OTC stock market has, in my opinion, not much will change. However, all we can really do is wait and see how this plays out and how much regulations really affect the crypto space. Looking at Bitcoin's daily chart, let's zoom in here and take a look. Before we turn on our notes, you can see that Bitcoin is battling. Let's turn on these notes now. Actually, Bitcoin is battling that 40K resistance level, trying to claim it, trying to cheat the system, showing a bit of downward pressure finally on today's candle. About 40 minutes to go until the close at the time of me filming this. But if we get this bit of a reversal candle here, that does open the opportunity for prices to finally trend back down, where my initial pullback price that I will be watching is around 38.5. Stochastic RSI has been sky high on the daily for almost 3 to 4 days now. And if we jump over to the 4-hour chart, looking at the 4-hour chart, there are a few things going on here worth noting. The stochastic RSI is low on the 4-hour. Let me look at the 1-hour real quick, also low. And price action on the 4-hour is also above the conversion line. Conversion line, baseline, lagging span, nice and far apart. The Kumo cloud is way over here. This is still a potentially bullish setup, and that is why I keep saying Bitcoin is in coin toss region. It's not safe to have a bearish sentiment right now, but it's also not a good idea to go bullish because as far as the daily goes, in my opinion, as far as price action is. This is right against resistance or right against support, and one of the two are going to play out in the next 24 to 48 hours. We are finally seeing a bit of a sign of a potential pullback here on the daily, but with this long wick down about 2 days ago, that gave us some indication price action should have pushed down in price. However, this next candle completely taking out the wick of the previous candle. So let's jump back to the 4-hour chart and look at potential price targets on a pullback. Before we even look at a pullback target, let's just talk about the breakout scenario, because that is pretty straightforward. If we jump back to the daily just for a moment, 40K, it's got to get that support. It's already showing so much sign of resistance here, but there's still about 30 minutes till the close. And as far as these candles go, these have not been too consistent as far as price action should have played out following this long wick down. But this is a bit of a reversal on the daily. But let's say the Bitcoin manages to somehow push above 40K here, build support and push for 41K. If we jump back to the 4-hour chart and take a look at that, 41K would give Bitcoin a legitimate shot at pushing the highs of this range that it's been stuck in since May 19th. If it can build support around 41K and make a shot at 43K, claim that somehow, boom, that's done. Bitcoin is out of this region it's been in since May 19th, and it is a legitimate shot to push back up in price action towards 48K, 50K or higher. But the initial price that it's got to claim is that 40K resistance level, and maybe make a push for 41K. But between 40 to 41K, you want to see strength and then a possible push towards 43K. But that would be the huge move for Bitcoin to get out of this range it's been in since May 19th. Now let's talk about a pullback scenario, because the pullback scenario is pretty straightforward on the daily. As far as pullbacks go, you're going to want to watch 38.5. 38.5 will give us some indication of what is going on with price action right along this moving average. If it tests 38.5, builds support, and then pushes again for 40K, it's still bullish. But if it loses 38.5, I'd start keeping my eye on this 36.5 area where it has shown a bit of pullback strength before. It does have a lot of support in that area. Also, this moving average will come up to about 36.5. So the other area I would kind of keep my eye on is right around here, around 36.5. If it loses 36.5, then I would start keeping my eye on around 35, because that was the resistance level it never really claimed. It just blew past. So as far as price targets go for the time being, breakout scenario gets above 40K, pushes strength towards 41K, and then a possible push towards 43K or above. But a pullback scenario, 38.5 is going to be the big one. And if 38.5 is lost, I keep my eye on 36.5 to 35K. Looking at Ethereum's daily chart, let's zoom in here. And again, Ethereum consistently looking weaker than Bitcoin. Let's turn our notes on from last time. I honestly thought that Ethereum would show a lot more strength leading up to the London hard fork. And it's still about less than a week away, and maybe we will see a reversal in that trend and see some strength from Ethereum. But Ethereum consistently has been looking weaker than Bitcoin on this push, and we're not seeing the type of strength I would have expected from Ethereum as far as price action goes. We're not going to spend too much time talking about Ethereum because it's pretty much the same as yesterday. If you're new here, feel free to go back and look at yesterday's video. But Ethereum breakout scenario, pretty straightforward. If it can manage to push towards 25K, claim it and go. Ethereum is off to the races, and that may happen leading up to the London hard fork. But for the time being, it's showing a much more clear reversal sign than Bitcoin. I start looking for these pullback prices that we talked about yesterday. 21.18 to 21.20 would be my first target on a pullback. And below that, Ethereum generally pulls back to just below the 200 EMA, which is around 1950 to 2000. So as far as price targets go for Ethereum, pretty straightforward. If it can manage to claim this 2300 resistance level, make a push for 2500, claim it, boom, Ethereum is off to the races. But for the time being, Ethereum looks much weaker than Bitcoin, showing much more clear signs of a pullback. So I start to keep my eye on that price target of around 2120, and below that, 1950 to 2000. Looking at Luna's daily chart, let's zoom in here. You can see price action has managed to get outside of the Kumo cloud. And if we turn on our notes from last time we talked about Luna, you can see here it's pressed right up against its resistance level that we pointed out last time, around 1106, 1110. And if we jump over to the 4-hour chart to take a closer look, things look decently bullish for Luna. It is showing a bit of signs of reversal pressed up against resistance here, but even a pullback to this range around $10 is still decent as far as a potential push up in price. The real question is, can it claim that resistance level around 1106? And if it can manage to do that, Luna does have a legitimate shot to push for around 13.5 or even $15. I mean, our first target would definitely be around 13.5. But it does have a shot to go towards $15 if it can claim this range. It's still showing decently bullish strength, but the conversion line and baseline is a little bit squished together on the 4-hour. Stochastic RSI is high, but not so high that it can't pump. And if we jump to the 1-hour charts, same story, stochastic RSI high, but not so high that it can't pump. Conversion line and baseline, you can see here, they almost crossed. Conversion line has managed to stay above, so things are still bullish. It is showing signs of resistance here, But as far as price action goes, if we jump back to the 1 day and zoom in here, even a pullback to this price target of around 10.6 is still decently bullish, and Luna could always make a push up in price at the following day. So as far as price targets go, you want to watch that pullback around $10, nothing below that as far as price action. And if it can manage to get back above there, claim that 11.06, it can make a shot at 13.5. As far as pullback targets, I keep my eye on $10. If $10 is lost, I'd look for the pullback to around 8.5 and lower from there. But for the time being, let's just leave it at that. Anything below that would be around $7.4 to $5, but I don't think price action would trend down that quickly unless there's a big crash with Bitcoin. So price targets for Luna, you want to see it get above $11, make a push for around 13.5. As far as pullbacks, 10.6 to $10 is still decent. Anything below that, I keep my eye on 8.5 to 7.4. Looking at XRP's daily chart, let's zoom in here, turn on our notes from last time we talked about XRP. XRP's managed to push right into the Kumo cloud, but not that high as far as a bullish move like Luna that we just looked at, but it is kind of pressed up against these moving averages, showing a bit of a sign of a pullback. I would be personally surprised to see XRP go too much higher than that for the time being, but it is good to see that XRP is still showing a bit of strength. As far as price action goes, the real resistance level is going to be above 81 cents. If XRP can get above 81 cents, that is where things could get interesting as far as price action. But for the time being, I start looking out for some pullbacks because it is showing a bit of sign of weakness here. If we jump over to the 4-hour chart, I mean, stochastic RSI sky high on the daily, also high on the 4-hour. It still looks decent. If it can claim this resistance level, it can really get above 78 cents. It does have a shot to continue to push into the Kumo cloud. 78 cents would bring it pretty close to that 81 target that we just talked about on the daily, which would make sense as far as a bullish move goes. So for the targets for XRP, pretty straightforward. If it can get back above towards 78 cents, price action could make a push for 81 cents, and then that would be very interesting. But as far as a pullback goes, let's zoom in here. You can kind of keep your eye out for these pullback targets that we've already set before. Around 65, 63 cents would be the initial one. Anything below that would be around 50 cents. I don't think XRP will get down to 50 cents unless there's a big Bitcoin crash. So price targets for XRP for the time being, 60 to 63 cents, but major resistance level around 78. And if it can manage to get above 81 cents, things will get interesting. So price targets for XRP for the time being, 78 to 81 for a bullish move, 63 to 50 on a pullback. Looking at AXS's daily chart, this is still a very bullish looking chart. Conversion line, baseline, nice and far apart. Stochastic RSI is high, but not so high that it can't pump. Moving averages are all nice and spread out. If we jump over to the 4-hour chart, you can see here, it's still kind of hanging around that conversion line. Everything looks decently bullish that AXS could keep pushing its highs. And if we turn on our notes from before, it's really just got to get back up to 53. We talked about this price target of around $40. If AXS can manage to stay above that, things will remain bullish, and it has for the most part as far as price targets go. Let's jump over to the 1-hour chart and talk about potential pullbacks. You might see AXS pull back to this target around here, around 44, but that would still be bullish. But as far as a big pullback, the areas that I would keep my eye on is this one right here around 38, and then if 38 is hit, I'd start to look for those pullbacks towards 31 to 33. But even above $33 AXS, if we jump to the 1-day chart, turn off all these notes so it's nice and easy to see, even a pullback towards $33 is still bullish. Even a pullback towards $29 is still bullish, but anything around $29 or below, we talked about that yesterday being a potential target for an indication that some of this push is over. But above this area of around $33, AXS is still good to go. And in my opinion, if we jump to the 4-hour chart, it still looks bullish, and I would not be surprised to see it test some of its highs. It may kind of hang out in this range, maybe even dip down to $42, but AXS still looks decent. But as far as price targets go, on a big pullback, I keep my eye on around $38 to $32, and anything below $30, I kind of start to get concerned that maybe this push is starting to have a bit of a pullback. But anything around $38 to $32 is still decent as far as a bullish move goes. So price targets for the time being, if it can manage to stay above this area of around $44, AXS is still bullish, and I would not be surprised to see it test all-time highs. And as far as a pullback goes, I keep my eye on $38 to $32. All right, folks, that's all for today. If there's any charts you want me to look at in the future, leave it down in the comments below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, turn that bell on to catch notifications for all daily uploads. If you're not following me on Twitter, KevinCrates_ on Twitter. I'm extremely active on there. Anytime you tweet at me, I will always tweet back at you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm out.